Hi, welcome to the next episode of EHO Knows. In this episode, we're going to take a deep dive into a story, but it's not going to be one of those, big floods, bushfires, or one of those disaster stories. What we're going to be doing is just taking one day out of the life of an EHO, and it's going to be a small story, but it's going to show how just even the smallest of actions can have a huge, huge impact on communities. And so to do that, we've got Megan Nilon along today. So welcome, Megan, to EHO Knows.
Thank you, Shane.
Quick intro to you. You've been an environmental health officer for how long?
Over 20 years, nearly 22 years now, so a
So
while.
you started as an EHO at about a 5-year-old, and you've been doing it ever since.
Not quite. I do have an 18-year-old, so, I may look, but I've been around a while.
Yeah. And you're now currently located in.
In the South Burnett in sunny Queensland. So I've been working as an EHO for many years, and there is a need to support new EHOs coming up. There's a lot of us that have retired, and I put my foot out and now filling a niche of supporting mainly rural councils in Queensland with knowing what an EHO does and obviously lack of resources, and getting out and getting back in the field and helping support those small country towns that often get missed along the way.
Yes, and I'd say your other claim to fame is you are probably the most prolific EHO on LinkedIn that I have come across. So if someone's not following you yet, check you out on LinkedIn, and you just post some great resources on what it means to be an EHO or whatever. So I plug for that. But let's now talk about, this is going to be a pub story. So we're talking about a pub in the country. Tell us, first of all, about the town. Whereabouts is it?
So it is in Western Queensland. It's a small town of about 100 or so people, and lovely little town, like a beautiful town, a lot of history, a lot of generational history there, and which I love. I love working with small towns and people that, they often don't hear about things or have that extra support from different agencies or the information that's constantly changing in our evolving, fast-paced world.
So why is there a country out there with 100 people in it? Why does it exist? What type of community is it?
Farming, so mainly cattle. It's mainly cattle industry out those areas. And then there's also the mining industry. So there's a number of mines, and so the gas industry and all that is out in Western Queensland. So that's normally your population type people that you're looking at.
And are we talking about the really big cattle farms now? Like
Yes.
the big, huge nothingness?
Very large cattle stations, yes. Yeah, millions of acres properties.
Yes. Okay. I should just work for Australian Tourism because I managed to sell all these community places. So we're now talking about an agricultural town. So it's got a little bit of a purpose in the middle of nowhere. And so you've got a very, very tight-knit community. They all know each other. They grew up with each other. And I was about to make a totally inappropriate joke, but we're going to avoid those. But we're talking about a really small, tight-knit community. And we're talking about a pub.
Yeah.
So what's this pub like?
100-year-old pub, the old wooden 2-story, amazing, beautiful. When you go into old pubs, it's the characters, the history. So it's a lovely, lovely old pub, but seen better days. And there are a lot of them. You go in and go, ooh, could do with a bit of a paint and all that. So yeah, I often find these ones that I go into and go in and helping them.
So one of the big challenges, just for anyone international viewers, is Australia's got a couple really big cities. Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. I almost forgot Adelaide, and I think there's a couple others out there. But we're basically just a couple really big cities, and then we've got a lot of nothing. And the problem is we've got all these traditional country towns, but because of industrial, automation and everything, kids can't work on the farm, so they've migrated to the city. There's lack of jobs. And so all these country towns are slowly just dwindling and dying. but they're still important, and so there's still people there. And so you've got this pub. You don't have money coming into the town, so it's not like you're going to be having a brand new refurbished pub, which is what's happening in all the major cities. But you've still got this 100-year-old pub. So if you rock up, does it still have signs out the front left over from the 70s?
There are some old signs. There's an interesting one that you go in that you see as you come down the road. It's like, right, you don't see that one every day. So yeah, it still has those hanging around.
Yes. And so it's holding on, and it's doing stuff. The building itself. Are we talking about a modern kitchen? What's the kitchen look like in the pub?
It's an old kitchen. They do have proper wash up sink and hand wash, but it's an old exhaust canopy that has been put in after the date. The ceiling heights are a lot lower than what a new kitchen would be. So building structurally is not like it would be if it were a brand new one. So there are exemptions, obviously, with the older style facilities or buildings. There is some nice vinyl on the floor, but there is some really old parts of it that the tongue and groove, the wood ceiling and sides have holes and bits and pieces that they're always having to fix and patch up because she's an old girl.
Okay, so if we talked about being pest proof, scale of 1 to 10, where would this be coming in at?
Yeah, probably about a 5.
Okay, so not too bad.
It's not too bad, things happen, but yeah, there's always gaps and crevices that pop up as buildings move and yeah, move when the soil's, in droughts and all that sort of stuff, things move. So
Okay, so we're talking about small town, we're talking about the pub. You step in. Okay, what's it like stepping into a pub
well,
in a small country town? Are you the good guy? Are you the bad guy? What's it like?
so my way of what I do is always building rapport with the businesses because when I'm as a consultant, I'm going to lots of different areas. They don't know who I am from a bar of soap, basically. So you're going in and it's like you're introducing yourself. And my biggest spiel, and I'm very well known for, is we're paid to actually buy the licensee or the food establishment that they want a license, but we're also here to provide education and support because we're the experts navigating legislation on a day-to-day basis. They aren't. They don't have a degree. So in today's modern times is we go out there and I'm very cautious of that these are businesses that are just trying to make ends meet, especially in small country towns. And it's working out, well, how's business going, mate? How's things going? And have they had any issues lately? And then going, okay, and then working through and having a look at structurally and checking it out and see if there's any telltale signs from pests to are they doing cleaning, temperature control, the basic EHO stuff.
So the first time you stepped into this pub, how were they going?
It was interesting going in and you're like, okay, this has seen better days. It needs a bit of love and could do with a bit of a clean up was the first basic things. And unfortunately, there was a few extra insects crawling around everywhere. So that was just like, okay, how am I going to do this one today?
Okay, so you weren't ordering a burger straight away and saying, I'll eat this and get stuck into the inspection afterwards.
Unfortunately, not on that occasion, Shane, no.
Okay, so you're walking into a place, you can see the bugs, you can see the problems. Does that mean that you've got an owner who's there greeting you with open arms or defensive? What's it like?
Well, I was actually given a heads up that there has been history and I went, that's all right. I'm well versed in this space. I've been doing this a long time. I've got some tools in my toolkit and some skill set. And it was finding out about what's happening with the owner. And, I could tell that there had been other things going on then personally. It's like, okay, so it's taking in that consideration of, well, how am I going to approach this situation? How am I going to talk to them? And working through what's the best way to help them, but also get the outcome. So ultimately the outcome is making sure they're providing safe, suitable food. Ultimately, that's our job. But also, there's a business trying to make ends meet and trying to pay their own bills. So what's going on? Why have they got to this point? And finding out about that story is actually a really important key as an EHO to go have they got the attitude of they want to do good, or do they not give two hoots about the situation or about their business? And then
So what was this owner like?
they legitimately wanted to help in the way that when I was going through, I said, look, I've seen some alarms here. I'm really concerned that, there was some temperature issues, there's some cockroaches, there's contamination risk. I said, there's risk actually to your business. And I said, my job is actually to not only protect the public, it's protect you. I said, and that's really worrisome for me because I don't like extra paperwork. And I said, I love saying that. I said, I don't like extra paper. I'm pretty sure you don't, mate. He goes, no, I don't. So, right. So we need to address some things, high risk things here, because I don't want to leave here knowing that if someone got food poisoning today, that's a risk to you and your business and your livelihood. And when they went, oh, you actually try to help me stop someone doing, for me losing my business, I went, yeah, I'm actually here to stop that. Also to protect the public, but it's a both way street. And he really changed the customer, really changed that process of, oh, I've not heard this language before. I've not heard this approach. And he's like, well, what can I do? What can I do? I said, well, would you spend the next little time? I was actually there for 3 hours this first inspection let's put some steps in place to help protect what we've got here. Let's mitigate the risks right this moment and then build some stuff over the next weeks and months to get you back to where you need to be.
Okay, so on that first day, 3 hours, how much of that time was actually just trying to win him over, having the conversation?
Probably about 20 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes, winning him over after I'd done the initial inspection. So it took me a good hour to really go through the bits and pieces because you've got a pub, you've got the pub area, the servery area, and then you've got the kitchen and that as well. So going through everything, also asking the staff, asking questions, finding out what the process is, what they do, how do they, when they get the stock in, how do they, cook it, how do they serve it, how do they store it, all that stock rotation stuff. Finding out what is the processes, what are the holes, the gaps, and what are the risks that are being presented from their basic procedures that they were currently undertaking.
And you had a long list by the end of it.
There was a long list. There was a few pages of items, lots of photos, obviously, and going through that stuff with them. And I like actually not just looking at the paper, it's going back and go, right, see this, and actually walking through the entire premise with the owner to go, hey, this is how it links to the legislation, and here's some tips that you can do to resolve that item, which traditionally you don't necessarily have to do. But in this circumstance, the scenario that was presented, it was really important because it wasn't just about the pub for this town.
No, it's where everyone goes. Is there another pub that they can go to? Where's the next closest pub?
An hour or so away.
Meanwhile, everyone now thinks that Australians are alcoholics, and unless there's a pub, we're stuffed. But really, you're not talking about a pub. You're talking about a place where people come together. It's the community hub. So what you're talking about is it's not just a pub. It's the centre of the community for a lot of people. Yeah. So you've got your long list. You've had your conversation. What were the essentials that you couldn't walk out that day without tackling the big ones?
Yeah. So stock rotation was a big thing. There were some items that had seen better days that should not have been on the shelf or in fridges.
So when I was talking about the sign from the 70s, you went in and you found the can from the 70s, and you're going, this has not been manufactured for the last 50 years, and yet you've still got the last can in Australia here.
Not quite on this one, but yes, there was some dubious things. And yes, I have been in premises that have had exactly that, where it's like, when was the last time you did stock rotation? But yeah, there was some dubious things of food. there was the cleaning, things that haven't been cleaned in probably a decade. So it was going through those items and showing them some tools or tips on how to clean certain things and what products that are available in the local supermarket, because they didn't have many things. Luckily, there is a little local store that I said, oh, how about you go up there and have a look for these types of items and see what's on the shelf. And I stayed there, and I was still going through with some of their staff, and they went up to the hardware store and got some pest control stuff. They got up and bought some cleaning items and came back, and then I showed them how to use them to get the outcomes we needed on that day, which was not traditionally what you normally do. But in this scenario, as you've mentioned before, Shane, that this pub is not just about the pub. It's a meeting place where people go for a mental health perspective as well, where people meet after you've done farming or other works in the community. And it's where people, the farmers that come in to actually get their beer that they'll have after a long day out doing mustering and all that. So it's not just about the pub, as it's such a vital part, in particular in smaller communities, kind of like a corner store that provides you flour and sugar and all that. So I had to really be careful in that space. I go, what can I mitigate now, and what can I get to the outcomes to protect the business, but obviously the public.
So it's an interesting one where you're talking about, stock rotation is one thing, but you're literally now just saying, hey, you need to get in and you need to clean, and let's duck off to the corner store or the small country supermarket. And so you've got the challenge of, oh, wait a minute, this is not food grade detergents necessarily, but we have to now make this work. And then you're going back and you're literally just showing them how to clean and what to clean. So did you roll up the sleeves? What happened?
Not quite. Could have. Was very tempted to. I'm a mum, so yes, it's inbuilt in me. But no, it was just showing them. I'm going, right, let's fill this up with hot water. So double bowl sink, let's fill them both up with hot water. Right, the liquid soap goes in this one. Let's get a sign there maybe, and that'll help the staff to remember that's the hot soapy water. Next one, right, sanitizer. Guess what? There's no food grade sanitizer readily available. What can we use? Let's use some Milton, the baby bottle Milton. And that's the only thing available until they could get something from the bigger towns. So, and showing them that, okay, that wash, kill, dry process, that basic thing of, oh, we just thought we were washing up. No, you've got to wash, then kill, then dry. And understanding the bacteria rhyme and reason behind it in layman terms. I was also working with backpackers, so different languages here as well.
Okay.
A lot of pubs and that have a lot of backpackers. Different languages, from French to Asian to all sorts of other ones. So I had that item to go through as well. And giving it also when they're defrosting foods and the processes, like don't leave it in the sink in 40-degree heat, sitting there for the next 2 hours before you're going to cook it. Let's put it in the cold room the day before. Let's cool it down the right way, because 40-degree heat isn't probably good for meat to be out that long. So there are a lot of those little things that we probably take us for granted. Not everyone understands that or has never been taught or trained. Yeah. So and also then there's the insect issue, was trying to get that under control and getting some steps in place, because the local pestie is not just around the corner to come in next week or tomorrow to do some spraying. So what else could we do?
So they didn't just get a can of Baygon and just nuke the place, something chronic?
Well, they went and got some stuff to do some things. Yes, they did. And which was an interim measure till they could get a pestie out. But and making sure they were doing it safely and they're not contaminating areas that they were preparing food on. So
I could just imagine them just go, she'll be right, mate.
Unfortunately, it does happen. It's sometimes the common sense type of thing isn't always there, and that's our job to go through that process and go, well, actually, why don't you do it this way, or these are the options you have. You need to think about before you go and clean that or spray that stuff or start putting different things in place, that they don't just think it's okay. There are actually rhyme and reasons why we do specific things in a way to make the food safe and also protect them as well.
So 3 hours, you've done your inspection, you've got your nice long list, and you've tackled the critical ones. Still means that you still got a long list. So you leave, what happens? When are you back next? What happens in the interim?
I was back in a couple of days. That was an hour.
Okay, so
That was over an hour drive to get there from where I was based. So every time I go out there, it's a long drive. But that was okay because they'd actually taken on board a lot of stuff and had been working on the cleaning items, which was fantastic. That they'd really got in, done a really good crack, had a really good crack at fixing the items that they needed to be doing, and then working. Okay, well now we've got this point. Now what's the next step? We've got some safe food, we've got the processes, we've got some cooking and cleaning stuff happening, we've got some sanitizing step happening when we wash up. Right, what else do we need to do? Well, let's start fixing the building up. Let's start fixing the structural items. So that was my next tackle, which is really exciting about what happened next.
So you're now rocking up, you're about to become a builder.
Literally.
Okay, so what were the problems? What were the structural problems in the first place?
So a lot of gaps. It's an old building. She's an old girl. Needs some love. I always say everything needs some love. And often food business go, what are you talking about? I'm like, look, let's give it some love. Let support the old building. So a bit of painting, sealing some gaps up, fly screens that have got holes and bits in it. Like, let's go and get some done. Can they do it themselves? And encouraging. It's really interesting as an EHO. I do a lot of inadvertently coaching and encouragement to a business to say, hey, actually, have you tried going down to the local hardware store? They don't have a local Bunnings down the road like you have in the city. So they have to have a think about what else can they do. They don't have a local handyman that can just ring up and be there within 24 hours. A lot of this stuff has to be done in-house.
Yeah.
And things cost a hell of a lot more out in those areas. So it's being a jack of all trades and encourage them. Okay, how about you ask the hardware guy how to fix that? Could a bit of silicone help? Could a bit of bog fill help a wall, or sealing up some gaps so the cockroaches don't keep breeding in areas?
Yes.
Build them out is my method. So, and I'm actually also got my licensed pest control quals in my other bits I do. So it's understanding that and then also explaining that to them.
Yes. Okay. So what were the types of things you did do?
Types of things we did do. So working with the business, I guess I'll skip forward to now, Shane, is they've done a lot of painting. It looks fresh. They feel when they come into that premise that it looks nice, it smells nice. It's not the old pungy, moldy smell that you often get in old buildings. We've got gap seals, so there's a lot less cockroaches to no cockroaches. They've got a pest control program in place. We're getting that's been under control. They've got everything sealed up, so everything's stored away correctly. It's neat and tidy. Got some records in place. Everyone knows what they do when they clean benches down. You go in there and go, this is really, I'll eat there. And if I eat there, it's like, right, I've done my job.
You'll have your burger now.
Yes, exactly. So,
but is there then a mind shift that happens in the if you've got a clean kitchen, and do you see a shift in the attitude of the owners and the staff in terms of how they approach work now and how they just perceive themselves even?
Huge. It is such an important thing. I always say to new EHOs to understand human behavior, I guess the wiring that we are, the mental health shift is huge when it comes to our job. And I actually had this business owner after I think the second or third visit came up to me and gave me a hug. And I mean, this is a larger person, this male, and giving me a hug. I'm like, okay. It was like, thank you. I needed this to know what to do. And because it was a very overwhelming, and I think some businesses get in a state that they get so overwhelmed with just getting food out the door that everything compiles. And we need to take that into consideration. And being I've done this a very long time, I find that part of my job is quite rewarding when they have a smile on their face when you walk in, and they have a smile on their face when they're actually cleaning, and they're not losing as much stock, and the customers are actually enjoying the food that they're having. And you get comments. It was actually funny. I've had comments with this particular one in the town where I've gone to other businesses and that. Oh, you've been down to the pub, have you? I've been to everyone. It's really good what you're doing. And that's all I'm going to give
Okay.
it. And it's nice to hear that they've noted, considering the town has noted that there has been some positive changes, and the staff, the backpackers actually are really enjoying what they're doing. Oh, look, we've been doing this and we've painted this other thing now, and that's really cool that they've taken it on board and they've got a bit of life back, or and their own passion in what they're doing. They're not just going to a job to get paid. They're actually got some right or purpose in why they're there.
Yeah. I just thought, just going back a fraction where you said you go down to another business and they're talking about the pub. So I talked about, the change of the owners and the workers, but what you're actually saying is, you have a pub in town and people eat there because that's the pub in town, but it's a bit of a dive. And we know it's a bit of a dive, but it's a pub. And they're going, actually, now we've got this good pub. Like we've got it's cleaner and, the owner's happier and blah, blah, blah. It's a better place for us to go. So you're not only just making a difference to the pub owner's attitude, but suddenly others in the pub are going, hey, let's go to the pub. Like, we've now got this more modern, clean place, and you notice that flow out into the community.
Yeah, yeah. It's really rewarding. And as an EHO, to go, you know what, I've helped that business. It wasn't just going in and shut the business down. That really wasn't an option in such a small community. It is going in there really make a significant difference to not only the business owner, their livelihood, their financial status, really as well. The people that work there, so they can pay their own bills. So I've not only helped everyone's mental health, but also obviously providing the safe food that the community really want and have.
Yeah. So the transformation, you rock up on day one and there's history with previous environmental health officers who have come in, but you're talking about an old, dingy, traditional pub with lots of problems. You've got an owner who's busy, stressing about a lot of other things, and you walk around for an hour and you come back with a massive list. And so at that stage, he knows he's got problems, and you're just one of those problems. And then you fast forward to now, where a lot of the problems, that list has disappeared. You've got a easier to maintain environment. You've got a clean environment. You've got staff who are happy there. You've got an owner who's proud of the business he's got. And you've got the notice of the community who are stepping in and going, hey, this is now a cool pub. You're doing good work there. That's the transformation.
Yeah.
And in the intro, I said, we're not going to be talking about floods. We're not going to be talking about bushfires. We're not going to be talking about the major things. We're just going to be talking about one pub, one business, and the difference that it makes. So that's really the transformation. And it's a transformation that you can make on every single business that you step in. So you can either be, stepping in and being the bad guy, or really stepping in and, you've given us a lot of practical tips on the way, things to talk about, things to be interested in, how to approach it, such that you're now making a difference. And in fact, in a lot of your LinkedIn articles, that's what you're talking about, stepping in and making that difference and turning around businesses, turning around communities, turning around lives. I think that's an awesome place to leave this podcast, because it really is highlighting the difference that you make. So thank you very much for that. Any last things you'd like to say?
It's, I guess, to all the EHOs, it's an amazing job to do. And even those that don't know what an EHO does, it's It's such an important role we play that we bridge this gap between the legislative and the real world. And I pride myself in that, and I teach a lot of other new EHOs as well about, we are the bridge, and we can make such a huge impact to the communities by just taking a step back and having a look and listening and working with the people, because a lot of the people are legitimately just trying to do their best. Sometimes, obviously, you do have to use a fine or something else enforcement tool when those that really don't want to do anything about it. But most of the time, I'd say that you can get a lot of really good long-term outcomes and favourable outcomes for everyone by just taking a different tack.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you've all got your own stories. What would be absolutely awesome is in the comments, share your stories or share your tips as to what you think, what you do to ease the, stepping in, sharing bad news, getting change, and yeah, how can you move from being seen as the bad guy to actually being the person who is there transforming businesses, transforming communities? So yeah, I'd love to hear your stories. But for now, thank you very much, Megan,
You're welcome.
and have a great day.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Thank you.